What's up, everyone? Welcome to the podcast. This is dedicated to talk about all the podcast things in life, like music, content creation, and video games. I am one of your co-hosts, JesseKazam.
And I am Queen Karen of
the
Karen
Land Comcastian.
Comcast fucking hotline Karen.
Internet?
Brother.
I'm assuming it was internet?
Mm-hmm.
That is the fast lane to like Karen status for me as well.
I just don't have the patience because I have experienced one very specific set of issues that like once a year it takes me like 3 weeks to deal with, and it's the same thing every time.
Dude.
And now I know exactly the symptoms.
Yeah, because you've done it enough.
Because I've done it enough, bro. So what happens is, and you know we've experienced this before, how it's just completely random, completely intermittent. All of a sudden, I go from totally fine stream to 33.3%,
drop
which
frames.
Is still, I'm trying to understand why that number.
Yeah.
Because that number is so specifically
every time, like consistent.
If it was like 41%, it'd be one thing, but the fact that it's 33 point, and of course it's
too
it's too close to a third.
Yeah, symmetrical to be random.
So now I figured out years ago now what the cause of this is. So in a nutshell, your computer, right, is connected to like your modem, router, whatever, with hardwired. Assuming, hopefully, you're not playing on like Wi-Fi.
Wait, yeah, I got a Wi-Fi card.
So that's your computer to your network hardware, and then that goes out to like whatever the connection is for your house. Which goes out to like the connection to your neighborhood, which goes out to like a larger area, which then goes out to another one, another one before it hits. Comcast has what they call their backbone, which is like, I'm just guessing based on context clues because I've never fucking bothered to Google it because I can't think of Comcast anymore in my life than I already do.
Fair.
It's effectively, I'm literally picturing just a big bundle of wires in a tube, right? Like a lot of them, all of them, right? Like that's just kind of what I'm picturing. It's the master line, like the main pipe. And then, so if I'm streaming to Twitch, let's say Twitch's server is in Virginia. I'm making this up. I don't know. Then, it'll make like 8, 9, 10 hops along the way before it's usually about like 5 or 6 hops before it gets to the backbone. And then usually what you end up with is you see like local addresses, then you see the backbone, like Comcast ibone.newyork.ny whatever. And then it gets more and more and more specific because it's hopping to that neighborhood, that server room, that server, that router, right? Like, now when this happens, I'll typically I'll just run a trace route, which like if you hit the Windows key, you open up console. You just type trace RT. I used to think it was tracer T when I was little.
Tracer T.
Yeah. And you can just type trace route google.com, enter. And basically what it does is every hop, it will tell you the number of milliseconds that it takes and the address along the way. So it'll be like 10 milliseconds to, here, 11 milliseconds to here, 13 milliseconds to the backbone, whatever. So then you can see like that's, effectively what your ping is. It's the accumulation of all of those hops. Now, when this happens, what you see is 10 milliseconds, 10 milliseconds, 11 milliseconds, 11 milliseconds.
Oh, and it just...
Request times out.
And it just never gets there?
Backbone, 10 milliseconds, 11 milliseconds, 10 milliseconds, 11 milliseconds.
Boom.
So it's like I had to explain this to the woman on the phone, and I went full Karen. But of course, she was like, "We can send a signal to your router," and I'm like, "No, stop. We're not going there." I'm like, I'm 19 steps ahead of you.
Yeah.
Don't fucking touch my router. Like, my wife's working from home and like calls. I'm literally live streaming right now.
Yeah.
Like, don't fucking touch my router. It has nothing to do with my router. I promise you.
Yep.
Well, sir, we're looking at your router and it's got 100% uptime. And it's like, lady, oh my God. And of course, they also point out that they don't have, like, there's no widespread complaints.
Yeah, there isn't like a huge,
Now, here's the thing. When you are at home browsing the web, or if you're even watching like Netflix or YouTube, you ever notice when you like hover over the bar, you can always see like it's loaded like 10 minutes ahead of you.
Yes. Yeah. It's
so if you're dropping 30% of your packets for like a 5-minute period, you'll never know.
Yeah. You just are basically eating up into that time. And then if it resolves itself on the back end, then boom, it buffers more and you would just never know. Yep.
Yeah, and on a web page, like, you lose some packets here or there, it takes fucking a few more milliseconds to like load the text, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. But
when it comes to live streaming, that's when you see the buffering.
Yes.
Buffering.
Yep.
And then what happens is, because Twitch doesn't want you to have this crazy experience where it's like, if you're loading for a minute, you have this jump in time.
Yes.
So what happens is they're like collecting all of the fucking data while it's like loading, and then they deliver it to you starting from when you lost it.
Yeah.
So then the latency builds
That's when
up.
you get the huge different chat interaction, because it's basically a pseudo stream delay for however long the packets were not. Yeah.
It might as well be a YouTube comments fucking discussion at that point. It's like, dude, it's so funny because people are like, "Oh, I think the internet's back," and I'm like, "You think it's back? Okay, type 1 in the chat when you hear this message."
Then you go get a cup of coffee.
25 minutes, they'll be like, 1. It's like, I said that 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
No, I'll type in the chat because then there's not a delay.
Yes.
I'll be like, I said that 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So I don't even respond to chat when this is happening, because it's like I'm talking to yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you get a minute delayed,
you
know, people are reacting to shit that I did 5 minutes ago. I don't even remember what happened, you know, so it's just so frustrating. But so I had to explain the metaphor to the woman, because she was insistent. And I get it. I understand.
For sure.
She's not an engineer. She's not like a super technical person. She has a script she has to follow. She'll get in trouble if she doesn't, blah, blah, blah. Right? But it's like, I know, I can see like the train coming towards you, and you're like, "Sir, have you checked? Try it on play." And I'm like, "Get off the tracks!" And like, they won't listen.
Yeah.
Well, let me turn to page 2, sir, and let me look at the.
It's such an interesting thing, because it's like, I went through this exact same thing. I think we talked about it. This was years ago when I was in an apartment, and there was only one internet provider, and I had this same thing where I would have these crazy intermittent issues you would only notice if you were live streaming. And these companies are so big, and they service so many people, and what they do at its core is so inherently complicated. You can't have 10,000 highly trained engineers on calls, especially when 99.99999% of calls are, "Did you restart your router?" Like, so it's like this combination of, I understand why the system is set up this way, but I am the 0.01% right now, and it's pissing me off because I can't get past your line of defense, and I need to be 3 lines of defense past you. And that's no offense to you, but push me to someone else. And it's so hard to be in that position, dude. Oh.
And I've had my shit escalated to tier 2, tier 3 support before, and usually what happens is I have like personal phone calls daily with a guy, and he's like, "All right, I'm gonna fucking give you a static IP and blah blah blah, and I'm gonna be tracing this and that." And it's like, okay, great. You know, when shit happens, I have a number I can call, and he can be like, "Oh, I'm fucking jacking in. I'm gonna see." You know, so it took me 3 hours yesterday of begging this woman. She was very nice, but just begging her. I'm like, I don't want to be condescending, and I don't want to be an asshole.
Yeah.
But what I want to say, but I wouldn't say, is lady, you're so far out of your league here when it comes to what the problem is. I can't even come up with the language to explain. So I actually, and the crazy thing is that like usually if you come up with a metaphor and you try to explain it, they get like defensive or they'll be like kind of pissy. She was like, oh, I understand. And then she was like, okay, let me go talk to them and see, and she had to go back and forth. At first they rejected it because I'm sure when she went to explain it, she didn't explain. He says he's having like connection issues and they pull up the router and they're like, there's no connection problem.
Yeah.
But I was like, imagine Comcast has a giant water tank. Now imagine I have a smaller water tank at my house. Now imagine I want water from your tank. Actually, no. What I said was imagine I want to pump water out of my tank to you.
Yeah.
Even though it's not technically Comcast, whatever, right? And I'm like, now along the way, there are temporary holding barrels.
Yep.
Where, it'll fill up the barrel, stop there, and then it'll go further down the line. I have a piece of software that tells me the hose between the 7th barrel and the 8th barrel is leaking.
Yep.
And you keep wanting to come and check my barrel for holes.
Yep.
I'm like, I'll give you the fucking network addresses of the servers, the hops in between. I'm like, oh my God. So finally, I had to beg her and I managed to get it. And it's just like, it's just a nightmare because everyone thinks they're the 1%, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But it's like, in this case, I am.
Yeah, it's 100%. It's a hard place to be. She gets phone calls all day long of people thinking that they have like the most ridiculous thing and it's a super simple thing. So she hears 100 times a day, I need my stuff escalated. And so it's this clash of the titans where it's like, I've been there. I know that it's not this simple. She's convinced it is. And it's just a hard place to be. And these companies are so big that there's never going to be just like are you smart and know that you have a deeper problem? Call this number and you'll get with it's like, it's just that
then
everybody would call it. And so it's like, it's a hard problem to solve. And when you're in that position, it's infuriating, especially since that's what you do for a living. So it's like, I can't work until we figure this out.
But sir, your router's connected.
Dude, I have genuinely considered, and I am still considering. So we have internet here. I think for a time, this was the only internet company that did fiber. And then a new company came into town, and they've been like dropping flyers everywhere. And I'm genuinely considering paying for a second internet line. Just so when stuff happens, like the likelihood, I mean, if there's like a huge storm, the likelihood they're both are going to be out is, of course. But sometimes internet just goes down for no reason, Xfinity. And it's like, if I could just like unplug my computer and plug it into the other router or modem.
Yeah, but that would only solve, like, if the issue was literally anywhere outside of your neighborhood, then it wouldn't do anything. Right?
I mean,
like what you're doing is you're using two hoses to connect between the first two barrels, but then every other barrel along the way, if there's a leak, you're gonna not get the right.
If that was the problem, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's like every internet problem ever.
I guess
it's almost it's very rarely like
a specific piece of hardware to one specific company that goes down.
Yeah, it's like you need to like reboot your router. Like, sometimes, right? Yeah, sometimes rebooting your router will just fix it for whatever inexplicable reason. But like
gremlins.
But whatever that problem is, like having two lines,
yeah, I guess you're right.
Solve.
Just makes me feel better.
Yeah, you have to also pay more.
Yeah, no, I know.
Now, remember, I was paying $500 a month because I have Comcast Business.
That's crazy.
So the last time this happened, this was maybe, I don't know, I want to say like 6 months ago.
Yeah,
I did the whole like empty threat of threatening to cancel when I don't have any other options. It's like this or like some fucking podunk, like someone with a fax machine mails my packets, manually company. And basically what ended up happening was it's really bizarre. I ended up with a deal that now I'm paying $250 a month.
Okay. I mean, that's
so it's still
crazy, but cut in half. A lot,
and I have an iPad that has like 4G connection.
Okay.
It's been in a box for 5 months.
Okay.
I've never opened because I already have an iPad. I don't need it. But it was like, if you sign up for this thing.
Yep.
And it was like, for $250, I'll take.
You're not on fiber. There's not fiber.
There's no fiber.
How is the whole world not fiber yet?
But see, like the thing is that, I mean, I have a gig down.
Okay.
I never run into throughput issues.
Yeah. I guess I don't know anything about anything, and I was just under the impression that fiber was more better in every way. Maybe it's just because I came from such horrible internet problems, and when I got fiber, they all went away, and I just attributed all that to it being a fiber thing. Because I don't know how much of the infrastructure, I mean, not like infrastructure. Obviously, they're not changing out the pipes or anything, but I don't know how much on their back end is replaced when doing fiber. If it's just delivering from the node to the houses, so virtually nothing, or is it more?
I mean, it's the major benefit is just it's faster.
Yeah. That too.
Because you're using fiber optic, like glass wiring, or not wiring, but you know what I mean? Like versus actual cable.
What's your upload?
I want to say it's like 15 or 20 or something.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
I have 350 up. I used to have a gig down, a gig up, but when I moved, I got a gig down, 350 up. But I go crazy with it. Like, I'll stream to Twitch at whatever, 6, 7, 8 megabytes. But then I stream to YouTube at 20 megabytes.
Yeah.
And then I stream to YouTube Shorts at another 10 megabytes. So, like, I'm using, like...
Wait, stream to Shorts? Or
yeah, I can stream to the Shorts feed and to YouTube at the same time. I stream in vertical to the Shorts feed. So, like, if you're just scrolling the Shorts feed, you could come across my live stream vertically. I used to stream to TikTok a little bit, so I had all the vertical stuff set up for that. TikTok is, yikes. So I stopped doing that, but then I was like, oh, you can stream to YouTube Shorts and to YouTube at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of TikTok, dude, I haven't even looked. The Flat Earth videos, just like, inexplicable, like, 0 views, 0 views, 0 views, 333 views, 0 views, 334 views, 0 views, 0 views, 335 views. It's like, what the fuck?
It's like this, like, it's like bots, and they just like select a random bunch of videos or something. I don't know.
Yeah. 20, 40, 17, 12, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7, 6, 6, 7, 0, 6, 5, 6, 6, 6, 8. 627 698 640 525 12 12 665 8. Community guidelines violation 19 10 7
bro
677. It's like, if it makes it past 40, they'll show it to 600 people and then stop. If it doesn't get community guidelines violation.
Dude, I haven't even opened TikTok really. Like, it's just, that app is just so cooked, man. It's crazy. I still post. It's just all like automated. And I've had a few go crazy. I had a YouTube short randomly pop on YouTube and get a milli just like out of nowhere. It was like, poggers.
Yo, hell yeah, dude. I'm still debating whether or not, like, is streaming to YouTube at the same time, is it just kind of like another 30% just kind of tacked on, or 20%? Like
20% what? Viewers, or like,
I don't know.
Yeah, so I definitely don't think it's like everybody, it's like perfect for everybody, but it's like I'm still in my bubble of like, I still stream the content I've made all my YouTube content about. So my like Venn diagram of YouTube audience and Twitch audience is a circle still, you know what I mean? And so when they changed the rule and they allowed for multi-streaming, I just hopped on that ASAP because I know a lot of people don't like the ads on Twitch. A lot of people don't like the UI, or a lot of people are at work and their works block Twitch but don't block YouTube. And so I was just like, let me see. And so I get like, these days I get about 50% of my Twitch viewership on YouTube. And it's also, I mean, it's nice because I don't know, like I genuinely could not tell you how it's monetized, right? When I make the live stream, it says that like it runs ads, but I think it does it like YouTube. You know how on Twitch, it's like an ad hits and chats like ads, ads. It's like, it happens to everybody at the same time. I think it's like YouTube where it's dynamically, when was the last time you saw an ad on YouTube? So there's never a moment where I can tell ads are being displayed on YouTube. And there's never really a moment where like YouTube chatters are like, oh my God, all these ads. I also think people have like ad blockers for YouTube. So that might be it. I don't know. But it accounts for, at this point, like, especially since interest in Tarkov is generally pretty low as far as like YouTube videos, it accounts for a non-insignificant amount of revenue from YouTube as well. So it's been dope. I mean, I set up like subs. They're called memberships over there, but it's like same thing. You get emotes and stuff like that. And it's been dope. And then when like things happen, it goes crazy. Like on like wipe day, I think I had more viewers on YouTube than on Twitch. I had like 3,300 viewers on YouTube, like live. It was like crazy. And then when the event, you know, dies down or whatever, it goes back to like 40 to 50% of my Twitch. But it's been, I personally love it. At this point, it's like I'm so integrated into it, and I have the chats combined that it's just like, I don't know, it's cool.
Yeah, I tried to set that up and I couldn't.
It has gotten so much easier. It used to be like such a pain.
I ended up on like a GitHub page. And like, I feel like I want to say it was like in Japanese or something.
That's the right one.
That's the one that you're saying is better?
Yeah. Well, not anymore. That was the one. There are much easier and simpler tools now. Just like easy peasy YouTube plugin. There's a big red YouTube button. You click it, you link your account. Like, it's much easier, even just than it was 6 months ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I can send you some stuff. It's 100% a lot easier. So I like it a lot. And then there's even more, like, I'm thinking about trying to stream to Twitch, dude. Twitter. Freaking, dude, TikTok is just crazy. TikTok, you know what? It's funny. I wondered why this was happening, and I actually got an answer the other day, because somebody, it was like Ash or Gibbon, somebody that goes crazy on TikTok, like does really, really well on TikTok. When I was streaming Gray Zone, I was streaming on TikTok pretty much every day as well. And I would have like 300, 400, 500 viewers on TikTok. And like 3 times a day, TikTok would cancel my stream. They would just end it. And it would say ending due to inactivity in the middle of like chat spamming. And,
the fuck?
And I don't know why. I don't know why. So I just stopped streaming there. And then I realized, because then Gibbon or Ash or someone was saying the same thing was happening. And when they say inactivity, they mean like donations, like galaxies, roses, all the stuff where basically it's like bits over there. Like, they're like, if you're not begging
roses?
They're basically,
it's like a fucking porno
dude,
website.
It's so weird, man. I don't understand. I don't know what the value of a galaxy is monetarily or a rose, but it's,
what website is this again?
TikTok, bro. TikTok. And so like they basically, if you're not like begging your community for money and like getting them engaged in that way, they'll just like end your stream. It's so scuffed over there, bro. It's so monka.
Dude, it's the wild fucking West, man.
Dude, it's weird. So I stopped doing that, but then I already had all the vertical scenes set up. And so I heard you can stream to YouTube Shorts feed at the same time. So I started doing that as well a little bit. That's pretty cool.
So is that just a YouTube Shorts feed? So is that just kind of like a filter, like a pipeline to the normal feed itself, or do people just sit and watch?
Yeah, if you open do you have YouTube on your phone?
Yeah.
Just open the app, and at the bottom on the left is home, and right next to home is Shorts, and it's just like essentially TikTok at that point, just an endlessly scrolling, algorithmically driven Shorts feed.
Yeah, I know what the Shorts feed is. I'm just saying, like,
and so I just show up there randomly if you like my content or Tarkov content or whatever.
Weird, dude.
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like the multi-streaming thing.
One day I'll set it up. Although I have a feeling that like now at this point, I'd probably want to like stream to like my second channel.
Maybe.
Like I probably wouldn't want to do.
The shorts is a whole different algorithm now, at least. So you can't really like mess anything up. Oh, but you're saying stream, the big stream. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, the true crime people or whatever.
No,
like
that actually would make sense because it ends up like a video. Like I have mine set to automatically unlist my live streams, and then I can like publish them in a playlist and make sure to not, there's like the checkbox notify subscribers. I can uncheck that so it doesn't spam people, but it does after treat it like a video. Like that's one of my pet peeves is when I'm on the YouTube homepage and I see a thumbnail. It's like a streamer I like playing a game and it says live. Yes. So like I'm not good at it. I don't do it enough, but I'd rather err on not doing it at all than doing it that way. But when I do it, it's like as soon as I hit end stream, it unlists the video. I go in and change the thumbnail to say VOD and then check do not publish, like don't notify my subscribers. Then I post the video. So it's like, if you want to watch one of my VODs, you can watch one of my VODs. They're in the playlist, but I don't want my VODs showing up on your homepage unless you can tell immediately it's a VOD. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's so annoying, dude. When I see
I hate it.
I see the one I see every single day is I used to watch Emily Baker, the like ex-district attorney who does like court stuff.
Yeah.
And I always see it like 3 a.m. like live, like fucking, trial, blah, 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 whatever. And it was like, oh shit, really? Like, there must be something. And it was like streamed 3 weeks ago. And it's like, what the fuck is this?
What's nice though now is that YouTube does the thing where, you know how like on the homepage, like when you see a thumbnail and below that you see the title of the video and next to it you see like the logo of the channel, whose channel it is. Nowadays, that channel logo will have a red ring around it if they're live. So they don't really.
But there's also something that shows there that is. See, like right now, I'm looking at this guy Wudijo, who I used to watch Diablo 4. There's like a rectangle like banner that says live, but there's also around his avatar. But I feel like there's also been times where I see something like that. Maybe it's in the thumbnail or there's something that like indicates live.
Yes,
it says live.
There's something on the left. On the left,
it's like a watermark.
Yes, it's a little red thing, and sometimes that'll show that they're live and they're not live. That pisses me off too. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah. So the avatar.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? So I just saw a scroll down some more, and I see Wudijo, who's live right now, playing Diablo, and I see Path of Exile 2, State of the Game, 3 weeks ago. It's a video, but because he's live, it says live on his avatar because he's live right now.
Yes.
But the video has
that
nothing to
video
do with...
is not live. Yes. It's still
so
working out some kinks, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's what's crazy about YouTube, man. They're so dominant in so many areas. They just like, it's almost as if they intentionally make that experience suck. The reason why I stopped streaming to the YouTube Shorts feed is because when you, I do it intermittently now. When you stream to the YouTube Shorts feed, it goes to the YouTube Shorts feed, but it will also go to the home feed. So when you just refresh your home, there will be like a vertical, like a squished with the huge sidebar vertical thing of me taking up a full spot on the homepage. And then I had chat filling up with like, why is this vertical? And I was like, why are you, like, they would end up in the wrong stream because it would show that one on the homepage. Like, the vertical stream should only get displayed in the vertical feed. And then it's just like it's one of those things where it's good enough to stream there. Like I stream on YouTube and I love it, but it's almost as if they're trying to like not be quite as good as they could be. It's crazy.
So you self-sabotage?
It seems like that's what they're doing. It's wild. It's wild. Yeah. Crazy.
Fuck, I forgot what I was gonna say. Bro, there's something going on right now in the chess community that's like mega drama alert.
Okay. Is this the latency thing with the website?
No,
Chess.com?
No.
Okay.
This is another cheating.
Related. More anal leads.
Yeah. So there's this guy Vladimir Kramnik, a Russian dude.
Okay.
And there's actually surprising amount of like politics and like
of course
there's a lot of Russian stuff involved in chess for whatever reason, but because chess is pretty big in Russia. Anyway, this guy Vladimir Kramnik was like an ex-world champion, like one of the, he's on people's lists for like greatest of all time.
Okay.
But he's older now and he's kind of washed.
Okay.
But he was, possibly, I don't want to say one of the GOATs, but world champion.
Yeah, but
world
huge.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, he has been going off. I think maybe we talked briefly about this, about how he went to Spain with a guy who he thought. Okay, so it's the same guy.
Okay.
He was accusing that guy of cheating. He accused Hikaru, who's the biggest streamer. Then now he's accusing another person, this guy Daniel Naroditsky, who this guy is hands down the best educational YouTube chess content creator. He's not the greatest chess player, but like Hikaru just does live stream like reacts and like
just dominating and, like, 5,000 IQ. There's a difference between that and like educating people. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, and then there's this other guy, Gotham Chess.
Yes,
who
I know Gotham Chess.
He does a lot of entertaining, funny. It's high
breaking down games
level.
And stuff like that. Yeah.
It's much higher level than the average player, but he does like a lot of beginner tutorial content. But he's like not a grandmaster.
Yeah.
He's not anywhere close to like Hikaru or any of these other guys.
Yeah.
He can maybe beat them in 1 out of 40 games or something.
Yeah.
But then there's Daniel Naroditsky, who is a grandmaster. He, I think, might be top 10 in the world for like the FIDE chess, like official over the board. But there's drama about farming basically that goes on. So you know how in a lot of games, well, most games, if you're like top ranked, like you're global elite in Counter-Strike, if you play matchmaking, like you'll only ever play, like maybe your level minus, one tier or something if there's like nothing going on, right? But for the most part, it matches your elo. But the way that like chess works on chess.com, if I'm like a 1600, which is above average.
Yeah.
If I were to play someone who's like 400, if I win, I get 0 points.
Yes. Yeah. There is quite literally like no value.
30.
Yeah.
So it's when you're equal rating, it's usually like +8, -8, and then it starts to go like +9, -7, kind of.
Yeah.
Now, there's a period of time where I can only kind of infer or guess the reasoning behind it, but I think this is it or makes sense.
Okay.
FIDE, which is like the Federal International blah blah blah, whatever the hell it's got. I don't know what it stands for. It's like the global chess,
like FIFA,
like
but for chess,
real over the board chess.
Yeah. Okay.
They're not really like they don't like chess.com has like nothing really to do with FIDE.
Gotcha. Okay.
They at one point, so think about this. If you're like a Giga Super, they call them Super GMs. So there's GM like Grandmaster, but then there's like the Super GMs, which are basically like a few folks who are just like next level, above the next level. Like Hikaru is one of the Super GMs.
Magnus, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, he's just the GOAT.
He's the super GM.
Yeah, he is. He's the GOAT, hands down, greatest of all time.
Yeah.
But so imagine you're like 2,700 is like the max in chess.
Okay.
27, like maybe 28, like maybe. But now imagine there's like a tournament, a regional tournament, and like the highest rated player at the tournament, it's like 2,200.
Okay.
Why would you even go? Why would you compete? You can only lose points.
Yeah, you can't gain points.
And if you were to get to 2,750 or whatever and then just never play, you'll probably be up on the leaderboard forever.
Yeah. And it's like if you go and stomp the tournament, nobody's like, whoa, the guy we knew was going to win won. That's crazy. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So there was also a period where I think that they changed. There's something called a K value, which is one of the variables in the calculation.
Okay.
I think that where they basically like there was an inflation period. The same happened with chess.com too, I think. Where they like changed the calculation. So there's like people were at potentially like ratings that we're probably not going to achieve again.
Yeah.
Because again, it just gets to the point where once you get so high, it's like you can't get higher. You'd have to win like 1,000 games in a row to gain a point.
Yeah.
And it's just not, it doesn't matter how good you are, statistically speaking. Yeah. It's just not really going to happen. Yeah. And you get high enough where when you draw, you lose points. And chess played perfectly is a draw. Like,
yeah.
You see the evaluation bar just sits at 0 and you just, it's such a well-balanced game that, like black starts off with a small disadvantage, but it all kind of evens out
over the course
quickly.
Of a game. Yeah.
And then, so at a high level in classical chess, when they play like 3-hour games, 4-hour games or whatever, if you're like black, you're like are trying to draw. That's like the best you can do.
Jeez.
Assuming you're playing against someone of like equal level skill, at a certain point. But yeah, you're usually happy hoping for a draw basically when you're playing with black. When you're playing with white, it's like, all right, you got to take that small advantage because they have so much time to think about as much as possible that they're like 98% accuracy in terms of like correspondence to the engine lines. So there's a few people who, and Daniel Naroditsky is one of them, that they go to tournaments. I don't know. I don't want to say regularly, but like a few times a year.
Okay.
And it's usually associated with like their home turf where they have like a big chess club and like they are like instructors there.
Gotcha.
So there'll be big tournaments and they'll like join in the tournaments.
Okay.
Because it's one of those things that like you would think that if you're like a Pop Warner football player, to play against the Patriots and have them try their hardest would be bullshit. It would be, like it wouldn't be fun. It wouldn't be, but playing against much higher rated players in chess is actually something that most chess players like want.
Okay.
Because you learn, like you're not getting physically demolished, right? Like it's usually, an opportunity to potentially win, right? And get a bunch of points, but also like to learn something.
Yeah.
So typically what happens is you see a bunch of dudes, there'll be like 20 people in a tournament and there'll be like the same kind of 2 guys that will play each other and they'll always draw. And then they'll go like 8-0 against everyone else.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, so back to the original point about there's no motivation for you to fucking play anymore, right? And when you get past a certain point, you have nothing to gain. So if you want to promote chess, you want your best players to be playing.
Yes.
You don't want them to get to a certain point and stop playing, right? That the game will die.
Yeah.
So they implemented a rule, the 400-point rule, which was basically if you play in like a FIDE sanctioned event, no matter what the person's rating is underneath you, there's a minimum threshold. So let's say you're 2,700.
Okay.
And you play against someone who's 1,400.
Yeah.
you have no chance.
Yeah, never.
If you win as the 2700, the elo calculations are based on if you were to win your elo minus 400. So it makes the 1400 a 2300.
Yeah.
So with that rule, these 2700s can go stomp a bunch of 14, 15, 1700s, and they'll go up a point, or 2 or 3 points after winning 10 games or whatever. So there's like some drama around like, this guy says that it's like this terrible thing, and
but this
whatever.
Was
that's
like
a whole
FIDE's rule. They implemented this.
Yes, like the official chess federation. Like that's you can't blame these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but effectively 2700 is like you're talking top in the world.
Yeah.
And what this guy Vladimir Kramnik is saying is that a bunch of these dudes they're not 2700 level players. They just are effectively farming. And that's like kind of what like Hikaru has, it's like Hikaru and Magnus are usually like fighting for the top elo on chess.com, which is like between 33 and 3400. And like if Hikaru wants to farm people, he does what he calls adoptions, which is basically you win 10 games in a row, or like you try to win kind of plus 10 and then you usually find someone else. But it's like if you lose a game, you'll lose 20 points. If you win, you'll get maybe 2.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to win 10-1, otherwise you'll lose points.
Yes. Yeah.
And chess is one of those games you make one mistake,
it's over.
Against someone who's good enough.
Yeah.
You might not be able to recover.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's drama about people farming and basically like all this stuff. But Kramnik pointed to Daniel Naroditsky.
Okay.
And for a bunch of reasons, there's kind of 2. Other than the farming and the elo and whatever, there's like 2 main ones. One of them is I can't stand watching it because it just reminds me of the Tarkov stuff. So Danya is a streamer.
Okay.
He's streaming to, hundreds, thousands of people.
Yep.
But also playing in these tournaments. And what you see is, him playing and then doing this a lot.
Oh. Reading
and
chat.
The guy's reading chat. And here, Vladimir Kramnik is this boomer ass motherfucker who every now and then streams, but he's not a streamer.
No.
So he's like, he can't wrap his mind around someone reading chat more than once per hour. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dude, how funny is that? How many times has chat been the cause of a cheating accusation in any game?
So he goes in hard about that, talking about where he's looking, where you looking, and now Daniel Naroditsky is like, Kramnik is like a world champion. Like he's a lot of people's like not idol, but like he's one of their heroes, right? So now Hikaru is just better than Kramnik. Like he just would demolish
Hikaru?
Hikaru,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they play all the time, and Hikaru usually stomps him. Every now and then, Kramnik will win or draw, but it's usually like pretty overwhelmingly in Hikaru's favor. Fuck, what was I talking about?
Kramnik, he won't like. You're saying Kramnik's good, but he's not goated. Hikaru's better. Daniel or Darren or whatever his name is.
Fuck, I forget the point. So there were 2 things that.
Oh yeah.
There was where he was looking. Okay. And then there was one other thing that there's some nuance here that it's one of those things like you have to have a conversation to be able to have reason brought into it. Otherwise, it's like the politics one side or the other. So playing a game of chess while you have the engine, and the engine is a chess computer that basically is telling you like what are the best moves, what are the best lines. Now that's actually kind of a whole can of worms because it's what I mean by the best is it's a loaded term because you'll see one move and then 2 seconds later you'll see another move replace it, and it's the best it can come up with right now given its algorithm and the technologies. But the things that were the best 2 years ago might not be the best line today.
You know, to 99.9999% of people, it's the best. There's nuance. Yeah.
So if you're playing a game of chess and you have the engine open, that's like bad. You're cheating.
Yes.
Right?
It's like walls, but for chess.
Yeah.
Radar.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
So a lot of these big chess content creators, they do what are called speed runs, where they get a like chess.com sanctioned account. It's an alt account.
Oh, you've told me about this. It's like not smurfing because chess.com allows them to do it.
Yes, but they also refund all of the elo points.
That's right. That's right.
Which is a not insignificant thing.
Yeah.
Now, a huge portion of it is because watching someone progress from 400 elo to 3,000 elo on an account, and all the while, so what Naroditsky does is on these speedrun accounts, and I've learned so much from his videos. He's hands down the best educational content creator for chess. He's explaining every step of the process, the moves, the positions, different openings, different, That's whatever, awesome. Right? So now if you're amongst the best in the world, right?
Yep.
And you're doing a speed run and you're playing against 700 rated players.
Yeah.
A lot of them fucking acting like toddlers, right? Where they'll they'll lose their queen in like the first 3 moves, and then they'll just sit there and let their 10-minute timer go out without playing a move. They're just like, you want to win, you're gonna have to wait, and they'll walk away from the computer or whatever.
Geez.
A lot of times people will do that when they realize they're lost, and they're like, they get pretty toxic.
You ain't ever gonna break out a 700 if that's the attitude. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So now, when he does these things, typically after each game, he'll pull up the engine and he'll go through the moves. What are the best lines? What are what did I do?
Yeah.
What was I thinking? What are some of the strategies? What are some of the mistakes? Right, like all of that stuff, and it's wicked educational.
Yeah.
Anyone can pull up the engine at any point.
Yeah, it's not like a secret sauce. It's
literally a part of the analysis. Like after the game, you hit boom, game review, and it starts with every move, and it tells you what the evaluation is and tells you whether it was a mistake, right?
Yep.
So it's really valuable. Now, Daniel Naroditsky had what I think you could call, it was definitely a lapse of judgment, but it was one that is like the most, like words matter.
Yeah.
And to say that this was not only cheating, but the whole point is that Kramnik is saying that this thing that happened is effectively indicative of a pattern.
Yes. Yeah. He is this way because he made this decision as opposed to like a mistake. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he's implying based on this thing I'll explain that effectively Daniels is maybe cheating over the board, maybe cheating in chess.com money tournaments, at any point could be cheating, like seriously.
Yeah.
Because he was playing against like an 1100.
Yeah.
Okay. So just like snooze fest, right? Like playing a toddler, you're Michael Jordan and you're against a 7-year-old in basketball. And it's like, now he was, like, let's say 30 moves into the game, and the guy had made like a serious mistake. He like lost a rook and a queen.
Yeah. The 1100.
It was just like, the 1100. So it was like, and he was just kind of stalling out. So at that point, Naroditsky was effectively like, the game's fucking over. So he pulled up the engine for the game and was looking at the opening, like the first 5-10 moves, and was talking about, because he was like, he had some interesting analysis to do. And he basically was like, I'm fucking bored. This guy's not going to play. Let's just fast forward. So he pulled up the engine.
Yeah.
And of course, Kramnik is saying, you pulled up the engine during a game, you're cheating.
Yes.
And it's like,
So
First of all,
yeah,
he's playing on an account that's specifically there for educational purposes. There are certain like leeway you're given, right? Like as a chess.com sponsored person with a special account that refunds the ELO.
Yep.
Is something you have to consider. You have to consider the fact that why would he would he need to use the engine when he's up a queen and a rook against an 1100?
Yeah.
Like he clearly wasn't using it to get an advantage. He was talking about lines and educational stuff.
Yep.
It wasn't even the current position.
Yeah, 100%. Like the lead up to that really made me understand, like you were saying, it's like 10,000 foot view saying he pulled up the engine before a game was over. You're like, oof, that's an oof. But yeah, it's like to then take that oof and try to like undermine an entire library of work or an entire like, you know, almost identity of education and like that being put forward in a position where he clearly wouldn't have needed the engine. This Kramnik guy sounds like a grump, dude.
You should
just get out of the game.
On his Twitter and his YouTube, every video, every tweet, it's all about talking. He's got statisticians looking at this, looking at that, and it's the most boomer shit. He doesn't understand math. He doesn't understand technology, and he's accusing people of cheating is like it's serious, man.
Yeah, but if you're him, it's like all you kind of have left. He's been surpassed in relevance as far as skill. If you're saying guys like Hikaru can just like generally wipe the floor with him, he's older. The tech has moved along, right? Now we've got, I mean, I'm sure when he started, there was no engine, right? There was no computer. Now chess.com, like, we talk about this all the time on the Patreon episodes about like Twitter and the internet. It's like all that's left is attention. That's all that's left. And an instant way to get attention is to say someone that everyone loves isn't who you thought he was. And then it's just, you know what I mean? It's like, it is free attention. It will garner attention, but it's like, there's no long-term play there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's so sad because like Hikaru's big enough, you know, he's, you know, makes more than every chess player combined other than Magnus, you know, just like, between like Twitch and Kick and fucking, you know, he's doing like gambling streams on Kick and shit. Like he's, you know, he's making good money. But so Hikaru, when he got accused, he basically just made a ton of meme content laughing at Kramnik for being a crazy old man and basically was like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
He didn't have to respond. Danya did the kind of like the reasonable, but also like, you know, it's a mistake.
Yeah.
He's been like showing his camera angles and talking about you know, trying to defend himself because he has like, it's almost like he has too much respect.
Yeah, it's understandable. It's like the way the internet works, even responding reasonably can be giving it more attention than it's worth. But somebody who respects themselves and respects words and respects when people say things, I can understand why he would want to do that, but yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
it's
super sad. And he's not trying to milk this for content or whatever. Like every other channel is making fucking reaction videos and whatever. Yeah. And he's just trying to like not have his career ended
for sure.
Because, you know, like a once respected fucking chess player has now like gone off the fucking deep end. He's like the Roseanne Barr of fucking of chess at this point. But yeah,
damn, that's crazy. Whatever happened to the anal bead guy? Is he still playing? Is he a respected chess player now?
So there was the lawsuit. He's sued for like $50 million. Like chess.com, Magnus, Hikaru, like all together. The lawsuit ended up basically, I don't think they settled. I think it just kind of got like dropped. Maybe there was a settlement. I don't know. But basically like nothing really came from it. Mm-hmm. He is like the Joker.
Yeah.
Like he has like become a meme of himself. It's kind of sad, actually. Like he's just wicked dickish and arrogant, and
so he leaned into the villain arc that was because he was a promising, bright chess. He was like a good chess player, right?
Yeah, he is. He's one of the better, like definitely top. Yeah, I want to say like 25, 50. I might be wrong about the specific numbers, but
he's good.
But he's I mean, he's so, and all he talks about is he's going to be the next world champion and blah blah blah, and there's these big tournaments that happen. One of them I think was like this chess.com bullet thing, and he was like talking a ton of shit, and he just got completely rolled by Hikaru, and Hikaru just like savagely was just like, what can I say? He's just fucking not good enough. Like he's just not. Ooh. He's just nowhere on my level. It was like, oh my god. Yeah, he just kind of became the villain that everyone kind of wanted him to be.
Yep.
And it's kind of sad because like I don't know if anybody takes him seriously. Like,
yeah, I mean, oof. That's crazy. Damn, chess be popping off, man. The chess drama never stops.
Chess is huge, dude. Chess is.
I mean, it is for sure. 100%. 100%. So what's been going on in my world? We talked about a little bit on the Patreon episode. Is my giant copium tanks have been refilled, fully pumped up, ready to go from Stuff for Star Citizen. They had their big. I
watched that video.
Citizen Con. Oh, the hour-long Squadron 42 thing. What did you think?
I watched it yesterday. Other than the grumpy old man into sci-fi thing.
Yeah.
Rolling my eyes at
it's pretty cheesy, yeah.
Every trope that's like sound in space and the fact that the ships fly like planes.
Yeah.
It's like there's no aerodynamic. They're like
yeah.
And a lot of really dumb things that like they pain me, but in a way that like doesn't really matter much.
Yeah.
But still, like like why? It seems so crazy to me that in some alt future where we have literal like intergalactic space travel, you'd be like when the aliens come on the ship with what are you doing? Like pull out the fucking rifle, to fight the aliens who have like why are we shooting what look like bullets? Like where are the lasers that are just like you're just cutting shit apart?
There are lasers, but
there was one, right? But it's like every ship should just have a fucking laser on the front.
I hear it. I hear the criticism.
I mean, it's like World War II naval fighting in space.
Yes. So
with the outfits and everything.
Yes. So that's like I forget how deep I am in it all. That's like there's like design documents for Star Citizen that basically they're like, that's what we want. We want like they literally reference World War II. They want like World War II planes and stuff like that. Like they just wanted to give off that vibe because it's very out of like Star Wars. You know what I mean? Which is exactly
Star Trek is also very Yeah.
Which is like kind of where that happened. And he made a few other games back in the day, like the freelancer games. So it's a very like, I don't want to say aesthetic. It's not that, but it is very inspired by that. And that is like, it's more for the cinematic and the epicness of it than it is for like the realism of being 1,000 years in the future. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's always I was disappointed. Like I said, a lot of stupid things. So you see the aliens, I'm like, they're just humanoid, like like I've seen too many sick aliens in movies recently.
Yeah,
where it's like the moment I see a dude with 2 arms, 2 eyes, 2 legs, a mouth, nostrils, and like a fucking energy sword, I'm like, really? They couldn't.
What if that's how it is though? No, I'm just kidding. 100%. But that's that was the Squadron 42 thing, which is but that makes a little bit more sense because that's the single player experience, which it's not like a Starfield. A lot of people have been comparing it to Starfield. It's not like an RPG. It's going to be more like The Last of Us, or just like a game.
Story.
Yeah, like a narrative driven. Obviously, that hour-long video was like 80% cutscene and 20% gameplay.
There were like QuickTime events in between.
Yeah,
a movie.
100%. But that's a very Chris Roberts thing, who's like the CEO of Cloud Imperium. It's
every actor in the world was in the fucking
Mark Hamill, Henry Cavill, Gary Oldman. I don't know his real name, but Stavros from Game of Thrones. But so like the point of that is to be a 30 to 40 hour single player like narrative a la Star Wars or something like that, which is cool. I don't care. I mean, that's going to be fun and I'll play it, but I don't really care too much about that, outside of the fact that I know that's sucking resources away from Star Citizen. But the rest of the panels for Star Citizen, like, I'm big, just coping finally. Because here's the deal. The thing about Star Citizen is it has quite literally never been like a video game. Like, it's a tech demo that's fun to fly around in. That's pretty much all it is. All there is to do in the game is make money, and there is nothing to spend that money on except like ships in the game, but the game wipes like every 6 weeks. So there's just like, there is no incentive. There's not, and here's the thing about Star Citizen, there's not nothing to do. There's plenty to do. You can be bounty hunting, you can be mining, you can be salvaging, you can do FPS combat, you can do ship combat, you can do all this stuff. It's just, there's nothing to do those things for.
Yeah.
And so
like
it's
progression.
No reason, like nothing touches each other. There's no like reason. There's nothing you would do where you would have to go mine, but then you have to, there's FPS combat. Like it's just this like nothing void of like, it looks gorgeous and it's fun when there's like a new gameplay loop. And this was this year at CitizenCon, they basically like, they were like, they basically said, we understand that, and here's how we're going to turn it into a game. So like the game director of Star Citizen last year or early this year, I think last year, left. I don't think it was controversial. I don't think it was like he was like fired or anything. I think it was just like,
he didn't get canceled.
Yeah, I think it was just like, this has taken 12 years and I want to go spend time with my family or something. And so, but anyways, there's a new game director for Star Citizen, like top of the food chain. New
sheriff in town, okay.
New sheriff. And he basically immediately went on the like, we have to turn this into a game. And this CitizenCon was their like, basically them saying, we understand what a video game is, like what makes a video game fun, and this is what we're going to do to make our game fun. And it was as if they read my mind. It was like literally everything. Like they are actually finally. Now, here's the thing though, is that I'm coping with some measure here. There's no time frame. There's no like, and it's going to be this game next year. It's still going to be the like game that's never finished. It's still a meme in that way. But this was the first time they explained to their audience. I would say this is the first time they showed their people they understand what a video game is and not just like what cool tech is. And they understand what an MMO is. So it's going to be years until all of this happens, but they kind of outlined how they were going to connect all the gameplay loops. It's basically going to be like an MMO. There's going to be a main story quest that you don't have to do if you don't want to do. But if you do it, it takes you to like all the gameplay loops, just like, you know, it would teach you in Skyrim, you know, you meet all the factions along the way, and then at any point you can bail on the main story and do that. So it's going to be like that.
When like a new season hits or whatever, like people aren't going to replay the main quest. They're going to go right into like character. Yeah,
exactly. So it's like, there's going to be a main story quest. Then there's going to be a bunch of like guilds, and these guilds represent a bunch of companies that represent all the different types of gameplay loops. There was like 100 different like professions you could do. And then like, there's going to be ships for each of these things. There's going to be one of the things that they had, because one of the things they had promised when they did the Kickstarter was that they wanted to launch the game with 100 star systems, not planets, star systems. Okay, we have the game has been in development for 13 years. We have one. The second one is coming later this year. So,
yeah, but that's also one of those things that like it's not linear time.
No,
like if they come up with a procedural system,
yeah,
they can poop out infinite,
which is what they basically talked through. But they had, when they had announced it was 100 star systems back then in the Kickstarter, at that point in the game, it was a cutscene to land. And a planet had...
It was Starfield.
Yes, and a planet had 2 or 3 points of interest. They said at that time when they made that promise, there was going to be 100 star systems and 91 points of interest. And so it was a completely different game back then. Right now, they have 1 star system and like 1,200 POIs in it. You know what I mean? And so it's like, so basically what they said was they drew a line in the sand and they said, here's what's coming in with 1.0, and it's going to be 5 systems, and they can go from there. And they did a whole, it was kind of boring, but also kind of super interesting from a tech side about like all this stuff. They basically did a panel on their engine that they basically handcrafted, and how they're going to do all this stuff with like placing, basically how they're going to procedurally fill the planets with stuff to do, and like how it's all going to work and how it's going to cluster them, and it's going to make sense with like the geology of what's in the ground. Would this be a mining outpost? Would this be a farming outpost? Would this be a ranching outpost? Would this be like a gang outpost? They're doing all sorts of stuff with like high security and low security systems where there's like protection, and it's anyways. But what they finally did was basically talked about how they're going to close all the loops. And the biggest things that they talked about was crafting, base building, and like org tools for how to create like large scale events in the game. And so that basically brings everything together so that you can, so basically they drew a through line through all of the different things. So now with like crafting, you mine resources so that you might sell them to a different player who enjoys the refining gameplay loop, where they refine that into higher quality resources, where that person might sell those raw materials to a crafter who crafts items or ships and then sells it to the person that wants to use that ship to go do bounty hunting. And when they die, their ship explodes and they need to buy a new ship, which came from the guy who crafted it, and he got the materials from the guy who refined it, and he got the materials from the guy. So with
subsystems, the game.
Exactly. So with, it's basically first person AAA Eve to a certain extent. Eve Online. So that with adding crafting, that adds a through line to all these things. Because right now, if you're a miner in Star Citizen, you just mine and then sell the ore for money that you don't need to use anything. Like, you know what I mean? There is no crafting. So now this adds everything, and there's like tiers, there's quality of materials, there's tiers of items crafted. You're going to be able to craft items that are better than the stuff you can like purchase in the store, and it's going to be like this whole deal. And then base building adds a whole new element of it as well, because you're going to be able to like, it's way more like Satisfactory than it is like, I mean, it's not nearly as in depth as Satisfactory, don't get me wrong, but like you're going to be able to build like giant industrial, like kilometer wide org bases where like hundreds of players can come and do their thing. Like it's going to be, you can build like a shanty town. You can build a 1x1 over a lake, or you can build like a giant point of interest on the map. And these planets are huge. I think Orison is like 1-to-1 the size of the Earth, the human Earth. It's insane. I think they said like there's been 5 million people that have bought Star Citizen, and someone did the math that if everyone had an 8 kilometer by 8 kilometer base, everyone that's ever bought Star Citizen could fit on one of the planets, Microtech. So it's like there's infinite space. So there's going to be like base build. It's going to be insane. So I am fully huffing the copium on. It was just nice that they defined what like the video game is going to be.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? As opposed to just like constantly getting these disparate, like random gameplay loops that don't connect to anything. You know what I mean? And
I feel like we still haven't gotten that for Tarkov.
Yeah. Yeah. Just 2 more years. Just 2 more years. No, it's probably going to be much longer than that. But once again, I cope from the outside, right? Like with Tarkov, I let myself get so lost in the sauce because it was the game I played every day. So, there were many episodes of this podcast where we were like hanging on every word Nikita says just for like some morsel of like, come on, this is what it's going to be one day. You know what I mean? But because I'm on the outside, I can like huff the copium and be like, oh my God, that's sick. That's cool. But it doesn't disappoint me as much as the people really in the community when a timeline gets pushed back or something. I just needed to see that they understood what the game was, and there has been absolutely no indication at any point during Star Citizen's development that they actually wanted to make it an MMO, and they showed that. Like, one of the big things they revealed was like a huge end game for like big orgs, like 100-person, 1,000-person orgs, is like building your own space station, and like these huge space stations where you can craft like capital class ships, and there's like basically Rust style base raiding where you can just like raid someone's giant space station that took them like 3 IRL weeks to build.
Now, see, what I would want to do is fucking like, I've seen some of the ships and how like they have like a fucking crew of 100 fucking people or whatever, and it's like, what if you just rolled up in a ship, pretended like
100%
you belong there,
100%.
walked right in there, stole some stuff, hopped in the fucking Millennium Falcon, and flew away? Like,
there will 100%, like, the bigger the scale, there will 100% be that, where there'll be like small sniper like thieves where like one person can just like siphon a little bit of resources out of an org without them knowing, because they're 100%. That stuff is going to happen. There's going to be a tremendous amount of stuff. One of the things I love about the base building is the like raiding mechanics, because imagine like a Rust map where there were parts of the map where your base couldn't be raided, but there also wasn't really anything good over there, and parts of the map where all the good stuff was, where anybody could raid your base at any time. Yeah. That's kind of how it is, where like you can have your like main home base on a high sec planet where you pay your taxes and you get your shield tech, and like anybody that disturbs you, the UEE Navy rolls up and they just bop them. But you can also build a smaller base at this super large resource deposit that you found that nobody knows about. But if somebody rolls up on you, it's game over. Like it's all's fair. And so I think that type of thing is just going to be like, I don't know, so exciting. So it was cool, man. It was cool. I mean, it's years away. It's cope fueled hallucinogenic nightmare fuel, but it's exciting nonetheless. They've also been finally testing out their server meshing tech, which previously the max amount of players on a server, like currently the max amount of players on a server is 100. And an entire like 5 planets, 6 moons, like the solar system is 100 real people. So they've been doing tests with up to 2,000 in one. So their server meshing tech is finally kind of moving towards coming. That's what's supposed to launch at the end of the year. So that'll be a help. But I just like, it was just everything I wanted this game to be eventually, just being teased at that while I'm at my like lowest point with Tarkov. And so I'm just like, dude, just put me in cryo sleep and wake me up when this effing game is made. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Like an oof, dude.
I don't know. I just need it. And then one day, the original dad will come back and do some FOIP shenanigans. They actually did a panel, or at least part of a panel, on their FOIP. They're like upgrading it, so it's going to get even better.
Oh man, it being
janky was
70% effective was, because when I would, I'd laugh for a while, and then I would like come to resting face, and my character would be like,
yeah. Like, it almost recalibrated to your laughing face. So then when you're, yeah.
So it looked like fucking Edgar from Men in Black. Was that his name, Edgar?
Oh, like, what was his name? Oh my god!
It was his fucking skin
that
suit didn't fit right.
Holy cow! That like messed me up as a kid. I was like, that dude's gross. That dude's gross. Water. But yeah, so that's got me ready to swipe the credit card, buy some more JPEGs, and wait a couple more years. Yep.
Dude, some of the ships I was seeing in that fucking like the movie that I watched, the Star Citizen movie.
Yeah.
Like, I can't wait to see what the fucking ARP is going to be on the mortgages that people are going to take out.
Yo,
for these,
it's crazy. It is crazy. It's. I was actually talking to somebody about this the other day, where like they're in such an interesting position where like their existence secures that what they're doing will never happen again. Like they were like the pinnacle of the crowdfunding thing. They're up to somewhere between $700 and $800 million raised. It's been 12 years. No video game has been put out. They're not beholden to any like publisher. So they just continuously maintain this, like, it's going to be out when it's ready. They've freaking scammed us all into like buying these JPEGs for ships. Like I've bought ships. Like I'm not above anybody, I'm not a freaking $40,000 Andy or anything, and it's like because of how successful they are and because of how deep the brainwashing goes, it has like Star Citizen has contributed like 20% of the entire jadedness to like game Kickstarters. Almost single-handedly. And so they're so big and so financially successful and so far away from shipping a game that there will never be another company in this position that has made this much money and not put a game out. You know what I mean? Like they have it's just like one of those things where you see it and you're like, that's literally never happening again. Like that's a once in a lifetime thing. Now, I'm not even saying that as in I have full confidence they'll land the plane. They could crash and burn the plane and waste the $1 billion that they've raised. But it's just, you just look at it and you're like, no way this ever happens again. Where like the 2024 gaming community is so different than the 2012 gaming community. You know what I mean? Like there's no way. It doesn't matter how good the cinematic was. If a Kickstarter dropped today, like it would be news. Like, don't buy this scam. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
immediately.
If it was an incredible fucking cinematic and a Kickstarter, that'd be like red flag alert.
Exactly. But it was what this entire thing was built on. Chris Roberts and one cool cinematic. So it's like it killed any future version of itself by becoming so powerful. And so the best I can do from the outside looking in is hope they land the plane while I'm still alive and hope that it's fun. You know what I mean?
That's so fucking wild, dude.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like I'm just starting to see like with Satisfactory how with systems things can get so incredibly complex to the point where you have like super infinite, like rich gameplay. Like I can see conceptually how I'm beginning to see how a game like Star Citizen can be appealing.
Yeah.
Because there are certain aspects of Satisfactory that like I'm not really that interested in getting into. And I, played hundreds of hours without getting into it at all.
Yeah.
And it was like, if the game is well designed, you can kind of get by without, my entire first playthrough, I never built a train. Like, I just don't want to fuck with trains.
Yeah.
Like, it's like different thing when you have like a conveyor belt that's moving material at a very set thing to you get a delivery that's a chunk every X minutes.
Yeah.
Figuring out the logistics around that. And then there's like the signaling with the fucking changing paths and all. I'm like, if I can just put a conveyor belt across the map, why would I want to make, like, you know?
Yep.
But now in my second playthrough, I'm like engaging in different systems entirely. And so a game like Star Citizen, when you're like, it's going to have all these things and it's going to have crafting and it's going to have like RPG and it's going to have this and it's going to have that. It's like, it just seems like it's trying to be too much, but I don't know.
I feel like that's what makes a good MMO, or at least that's what my stupid brain thinks that makes a good MMO, is that like the feeling, this sounds like lame as shit, like what I'm about to say, but like I want to feel like a cog in a machine. Like I want to be able to specialize in a thing and be reliant on players for what comes before and after. Like, you know what I mean? Like I craft.
Like imagine if like, think about a bunch of different games.
Yeah.
And combine them. Imagine that like you play Civilization 5 and, you know, you build the final, you know, science victories, you build like the space shuttle.
Yeah.
And it's like what you've done is just equipped someone to play Kerbal Space Program.
Yeah.
You know, like
100%.
If all of these crazy things were 100%. Connected.
And conceptually, that like is exactly what I want, which is what I fell in love with like some MMOs. Like a lot of MMOs, there's centered around like combat and crafting. Like some of the best weapons in MMOs can only be crafted. But the people that wield those weapons, the best raiders, they don't craft. And the crafters that have spent all the time getting their crafting skills up, they're not the ones mining the ore. They buy the ore off the marketplace. And so the guys mine the ore or whatever. And so you take that and you scale it up to not like trees and rocks, but like ships that mine minerals or bases that harvest this. And then like there's quality to the minerals and there's quality to the refining. And then there's crafting and like, where are you doing? And so like, there's going to be people, obviously, in this Copefield universe where 1.0 ever actually comes to Star Citizen. There's going to be people who are like renowned as bounty hunters, just like really good pilots. There's a lot of those right now because that's really all there is to do in the game is fly. So like Avenger 1 or Burks, these guys, or Zero State, what's the other guy? Moist Noodle. I watch these guys and what like Moist Noodle's one, he'll just have like lo-fi in the background, and watching him is like, it's just like flow state. Like he can just like fly 6 degrees of freedom. Like you just like, this guy's Han Solo 100%. And those guys are going to be like some of the best bounty hunters, and the ships that they want with the specific tunings that they want it, you know, the stats that they want with the components in them, the military grade components, they're not going to farm for those things. They're going to rely on people who can craft those things, who are going to rely on people who can adequately refine the minerals, who rely on people who can adequately mine them. And I just love that shit. The like cog in the wheel, you just like make a specialization, or you just like spend, my thing is like, I love being a jack of all trades. So I want to engage in each of the systems and get like an understanding of it. And like, so I just like, and like the thought of, like we have an org in Star Citizen right now. We don't do anything with it, but like Seal started it. It's called Moob, Mining Our Own Business. Get it? Mining our own business. Yep. Moob game. And like the thought of me and like 200 people from chat in this org, all at one point in the game, working towards a goal. Like we want to build this huge dope base. And we need a tremendous amount of resources, and we need people to defend us, and we're getting raided. And it's like we're all playing the game right now.
Like chaos,
none of us are doing the same thing, but we're all like contributing towards this thing that maybe we will only ever see or benefit from. Like that's the kind of stuff, which is why, as you've heard me say on this podcast many times before, I've always felt like I missed an MMO, like, you know, to play, you know, World of Warcraft, RuneScape, New World, whatever it is. And so, yeah, I don't know.
All that does is remind me of So Factorio, which I haven't played yet, but I think I'm gonna play it next.
Yeah.
Probably before Diablo. It's kind of like the OG Satisfactory top down, whatever. Apparently the update that they just did is like massive.
Really?
So like before, I rated Danny B. Actually, we had Danny B on the podcast. Fucking speedrun legend, engineer, like really awesome dude. He I rated him and he explained a little bit, and basically what he said was kind of like Satisfactory. You start off where you're like hand mining fucking iron ore, right? Until the very end where you have a giga, factory. You're doing everything all automated. It's just this massive, complex machine, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, and then you end up basically launching into space is like the way that you win the game. He's like, that's the tutorial. Basically, like now you can like land on X other planets or something, and like that's where like the game starts. Oh my
god.
So it's like completely different. Yeah. So I think they call it Space Age. But what you were talking about with all the people just reminded me of, I found it too pretty quickly on Twitter. This dude, this guy, Toby Lutke, he tweeted, "Happy Factorio game expansion day. I made my kids sign contracts before they could start our run. An official Factorio contract. This sacred and binding contract is made between Dad, the boys. Article 1. Respect for the main bus. The junior engineers hereby swear under penalty of extreme dad disappointment to treat the main bus like the royal highway it is. They will not touch the main bus unless they have a PhD in Factorio. Not ever. And this cannot be overstated. Turn the main bus. This isn't NASCAR. There are no corners." And there's Article 2, Article 3.
That's
just all these
amazing.
Rules. Just basically all I can think about is how, like, because you can play Satisfactory multiplayer, and people are like, you should have a server and blah blah. And all I can think about is like, I have like a vision for a thing I want to do.
Yeah.
The last thing I want is like people in the way doing too many cooks in the kitchen.
It would either be like you spending time telling people not to do what they're doing because you have a vision, or it would be like backseating to the extreme where people would just tell you, no, don't do that. This is more efficient. And you're like you, I want to do it my way. You know what I mean? So
yeah. So I feel like the only way that I would enjoy is everything compartmentalized.
Yeah.
Like either we're all in the same world and we're all going to kind of do our own thing.
Yeah.
And every now and then we'll come across each other and it'll be cool or whatever, right? And maybe I can help you with something or you can help me. Or it would be like, I'm going to set up the main base here or whatever. You set up some satellite facility where you're collecting like copper dust.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there will be a train station that you can deliver it. And it's so funny how Satisfactory is just a metaphor for like so many things. When I was thinking about like the pipes and like with the Comcast, I was thinking about Satisfactory.
Oh yeah.
When I think about what I was just describing with like a satellite factory, and like there's gonna be a train station with like these three. There's gonna be 2 liquid train cars and 3 solid cargo train cars, and I'm gonna expect this, and this. That's an API. It's basically saying like it's past the walls of this train station is a black box. I'm going to tell you what I expect in. Here's what you can expect out. It's like, oh shit, like that's literally a fucking API, for anything, whether it's like Twitter or whether it's Tarkov or whatever.
Yeah. For sure.
Okay.
Man, it has me thinking like, because Satisfactory, and correct me if I'm wrong, Factorio, were also in early access for quite a long time before their like 1.0 launches.
Satisfactory for like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah. So it's just so interesting because like there was a chat message earlier. I don't remember who said it. It wasn't even a negative one, but it was just something along the lines of like how hard it is to promise a big vision of a game, deliver 15% of it, and then develop it continuously and then expect 1.0 to be a big deal. And I was like, yeah, like that's a lot of thoughts. And it's so funny because when you think about some of the really defining experiences like of gaming recently, like Star Citizen is like attempting to be, the giga MMO of all time. Tarkov for all intents and purposes, reinvented shooters and injected this, for better or for worse. A lot of people, I'm seeing a lot of tweets where like, I swear to God, if I see the words PvE extraction shooter one more time, and I'm like, I kind of get it, but like we were saying the same thing about BRs a few years ago. So Tarkov with this Satisfactory, it's like just the time we're in where it's like everything is so big. And the bigger an industry is, and the bigger the players in that industry are, the more risk averse they are. And the more risk averse they are, the more same the things they produce become. And while we still have this expectation of big, you have these other developers that want to do something different. All they can do is sell you on the vision. We buy the vision. We play the vision in its current state. It takes 10 times longer than they thought to complete the vision. It changes because of the players and how they interact with it. What does it even mean anymore? And so like, that's definitely not to say that there are games that don't come and pop off. You look at something like Valheim. Valheim sold millions of copies. I do think it maybe launched in early access, or maybe it just went to straight 1.0, and it didn't take 50 years to develop. You know what I mean? For sure. So I'm not saying that this is the case always. But it's just so interesting to see. It's like everybody is so tired of the Tarkov or of the Star Citizen effect. But at the same time, we are almost more tired of the sameness, the homogenization of AAA games.
Yep.
But they need billion-dollar games to make it worth making their games. And so we get stuck, like we're in this interesting time where we get stuck in this middle where like we so badly want a uniquely crafted experience. So we're suckers for it. I'm a sucker for Star Citizen, but it's going to take 40 bajillion years to make. Like, I don't know. It's an interesting time. An interesting time. Valheim is still in early access. Okay. So then in some ways, it also fits into this analogy. It's great and it's fun for sure. And it's a lot more complete than Star Citizen or Tarkov is, but it's just, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, where do we go from here? Like, I'm so fascinated by were there numbers about like how much Starfield cost to make? I can't remember if I saw some articles about that.
I vaguely recall. Yeah. I want to say like 300 million or something.
Big game.
Field cost to make 200 million. Damn, I was close.
Yeah. So Starfield made 200 million. Now Google how much Skyrim cost to make.
100 million.
Oh, that's actually way more than I thought it would be. But yeah, so it's like it's
15 million in marketing, 85 into development.
It's definitely not going to be as successful, Starfield is definitely not going to be as successful as Skyrim. So it's like I'm pretty sure I heard that GTA 6 is close to $1 billion in development costs. That could be marketing included, but that's what I heard. Don't quote me on that. But it's just like what happens next? Like, where do you see AAA going? Like, do you see this return to spending $50 million on a game with a unique premise and it doesn't need to be ray traced, open world, 6 billion kilometers, high fidelity? Like, do you think we're going to see some? Yeah, and Concord, that was the one. Concord cost between 300 and 400 million, and they shut that shit down less than a week after it launched. And one of the biggest criticisms of it is because it's not doing anything different. Like, every piece of it, you can get a better version. Like, you can get a better version of this out of Overwatch. You can get a better version of this in Valorant and this in Counter-Strike. And it's like,
there's got to be something more to that story, because there's no chance that like any investors or anybody, like a board of directors, would be like, yep, shut it down. Like, you would have to have like a rebrand, like
I don't know.
You just ran out of money. But even then, it's like,
I mean, I think there were once again, don't quote me. I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure there were like 100 people playing 7 days in. Like,
but even then, let's say there's 0 people playing.
Mm-hmm.
Even then, you say we have a 6-month window where we have to redo a new marketing campaign. We hire a new,
I mean,
whatever.
true.
If you invest the better part of $500 million. Got
to be a tax
You're not
thing.
Just gonna
like you can write it off as a loss.
I mean, I wonder if
there's got to be something like that there, because you're absolutely right. Now that I think about it, we would be like, we've spent too much money on this. We've got to figure out a way to inject people into it. Free to play weekend, like 7 days is a real short time to just like call it.
The people who made those decisions were probably the ones that were getting paid, like giga money, millions of dollars. See, so that's the thing that they don't tell you. Let me tell you about one of my old bosses.
Okay.
I only found this out after the fact. That this guy was like a serial entrepreneur, and I mean that in the derogatory
Yes. Okay.
way. So what the guy did, he had a bunch of rich buddies from like Harvard Business School or whatever. He just had lots of contacts.
Mm-hmm.
And what he would do is get a premise for a company, usually like e-commerce or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What I was working on was a social network related to a very niche community.
Okay.
And you go, create your board of directors with a bunch of investors, and they give you $4 or $5 million basically, and you go and you hire a bunch of engineers, you go do whatever, right?
Yeah.
And what he does is he takes a $250,000 salary, he goes and leases like a brand new Porsche, and then just fucks off, and then like lets management work on the product and whatever. And a couple of years go by and there's not really much progress, and maybe you launch and it doesn't really go well, and then it's like, we got to go back and ask for more funding, and he's the whole while getting paid to do fuck all except for make contacts. Right.
Yeah.
And then it all fails. But he's already moved on to another idea, and he raises more money. So it could very well be that like the dudes who ran the Concorde or whatever, like the bigwigs already made their money, and they're like, I don't know, like, what am I gonna continue to even just?
I'm definitely with you on it. It seems like a fast pace to back out of a game that costs somewhere between $300 and $400 million to make. But what we know is that they shut it down. I guess we don't technically even know that those numbers are real. We've heard that. But what we do know is that it was a big, expensive game made by Sony, and they shut that shit down a week later. And so back to the question on like, do we think AAA games are going to turn back around and start putting smaller budgets into riskier ideas, hoping that they get their Tarkov? You know what I mean? Like an idea that goes crazy? Or are we going to see more of an indie game push where maybe, some sort of workflow where games don't take 10 years to make, you know what I mean? We don't get the Star Citizens, but are indie and AA games going to kind of pick up the pace? Because obviously like gaming is bigger than it's ever been. And what I'm saying, like, an interesting conversation to have is not all of the sameness of AAA devs is a bad thing. Like, undoubtedly, more players are playing AAA games than ever before. More players are spending money on AAA games than ever before. This is not me saying I think AAA games are dying, and dying or all bad. And I feel like that's what people hear when I say that. It's like a better analogy is like AAA games are just one food now, and sometimes I'm hungry for that food. But AAA games used to be a buffet. And now AA studios and early access games represent more of the food on the menu. So it's like
everybody's a Pizza Hut buffet now.
Exactly. So it's like sometimes, like, I know it's fun to shit on these games. Fortnite was fun back in the day. Sometimes it's fun to load up with the boys and play some Call of Duty. I'm not saying that these experiences that are being crafted. I'm just saying that they went from a buffet to, kind of niche, like a center buffet, and then now it's just like pizza. That's all they do is pizza. And when I want pizza, that's great. Those are fun. So, but I'm just so interested because there's more gamers than ever. There's more gamers willing to spend money than ever. And it seems like the AAA experience is less diverse than ever. So it'll be interesting to see where gaming goes and just like, it just feels like the gamer is getting shafted from both ends. If you want like a promising early access game, be prepared to wait 70 years, or you get Call of Duty, and Fortnite. And so I don't know. It's interesting.
I have like a weird, I recognize that like my intuition is basically like has no value, but I can't deny.
Yeah.
For all I know, it's like spot on and I'm predicting the future and whatever. But basically like I don't see, I don't know enough about how profitable really these games are for the companies.
Yeah.
It's different for like the CEOs than it is for the engineers, than it is for the investors, than it is for the shareholders.
100%.
Right? Like these are all different priorities, right? Yep. But if we end up with too many Concords, what I feel like what'll happen would be, like companies like Sony or whatever would be like, I'm just going to invest in a bunch of Vampire Survivors. Like, we're not going to worry about fucking around with hiring 500 developers and working on these massive big budget whatevers, unless they're like fucking Marvel movies where they just print money.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I don't know, but it's just it's bonkers to me that you can have a game like, Vampire Survivors, or I'm sure even Balatro, just makes giga money in no time, and it was like one guy over the course of like a year part-time. It's like the comparison between Mr. Beast video. Well, that's a bad example, but like a YouTuber that manages to get 5-10 million views on every video, and he puts one out a month, and like compare 1 million views to a Super Bowl ad, where the Super Bowl ad might, I'm making the number up, but maybe you get 20 million people watching the Super Bowl. They'll pay $10 million for a 30-second ad spot. Where it's like, why would they do that when you can get all kinds of impressions on a YouTube video all day, every day? I don't know. It's just I just don't know how feasible it is.
It'll be interesting, 100%. It'll be interesting, and that's definitely not to say that there haven't been AAA experiences or games that haven't been either like wildly successful financially or really fun. I don't know if they're all AAA, or maybe some of these are AA studios, but I mean, you've got like Helldivers. You've had Baldur's Gate 3 recently, freaking Elden Ring and its subsequent DLC. Black Myth Wukong is a recent one that like blew everybody away. So it's like good video games are being made. That is undeniable. I think the conversation and like my thought process here is just like about how like, the state of a lot of early access games, the state of a lot of AAA games. And I guess when you think about it, the state of like online multiplayer games that are outside of co-op, so maybe PvP, because like Helldivers 2 is multiplayer for sure, but like most of these games are either single player or more like co-op type games, the ones that have been like wildly successful. So it's interesting. It's interesting for sure. We have gotten some good games, 100%, but I do think it's clear to see some like interesting signs, which is why, as someone who, admittedly, this is a heinous act of violence on my part, but I've never played a GTA game in my life. It's how I can still be so interested in GTA 6 because of this conversation. It's like, gotta be near $1 billion game to make. Probably long. When did GTA 5 come out? I guess like how long have they been working on GTA 6? Because I assume they wouldn't have done it immediately.
Over 10
years. Reportedly since 2014. So GTA 6 isn't that far behind Star Citizen in its development. Probably past Star Citizen in its funds. So like, what the hell is that game going to do? Is it going to appease the masses? You know, Grand Theft Auto 5 is like one of the most successful games in video game history. Is it going to bomb? Is it going to be great? Is it like, you know what I mean? It's just going to be so interesting to see, because this is probably up there for the most expensive AAA game ever made. So this is like the tip of the spear of everything I was talking about, where like things are getting bigger and the returns from the shareholders are demanded to be bigger. It's like they're not going to spend $1 billion unless they're convinced they can make $5 billion. You know what I mean? And it's like, what happens? Yeah. Like, what happens when a game makes $1 billion and is considered a failure? Like, what a moment. You know what I mean? That would be insane. So, just so fascinated to see the next like 5-10 years of gaming as I huff my copium for Star Citizen. So, I don't know. Just interesting stuff. We'll see how she goes, though.
Yeah, I don't know anything about anything.
I don't know anything about anything, but it's fun to think about things that I don't know nothing about. You know? But anyways, that is the stuff. We didn't talk about Tarkov a bit. What a liberating thing. What a freeing thing.
I feel great. I don't know about you.
I feel great. I feel great. I know there's going to be some comments. This used to be a freaking Tarkov podcast. Well, go find a different one.
Yeah.
This was amazing.
I was going to say something. I'm not going
to. This was phenomenal. So, hey, thank you for hanging. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of the community here. If you want more content like this, you can go to patreon.com/thepodcastpod, where you can get up to 1 additional episode.
Or your money back.
Or your money
no,
back.
Sorry. There is no money back guarantee. That meme only makes sense when you don't pay for something.
Yeah. Anyways, patreon.com/thepodcastpod. You can get early ad-free access to these episodes. We do an extra episode over there every week as well. It's good times. Go check that out. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening and supporting. And you guys are the best. And we will definitely see y'all on the next one. Peace.